All right, welcome back to my round 7 recap from Vegas. I've still had no time to shave. Let me know in the comments if I should shave my beard or not. But anyway, in this round I was playing Sullivan McConnell, who I haven't heard of before, but I think his FIDE rating is around maybe 2050 or 2100. And I really didn't have much time between this round and the previous round. If you saw my previous round recap, it was a super long game. I had about 90 minutes between the rounds, and I spent that time recording the previous round recap and then preparing. So I didn't actually have time to eat, although I did go to the bar and get some coffee. Not beer or wine just yet, but yeah, coffee helps keep me awake for this game. And yeah, let's get into it. I played d4. And I did spend maybe about half hour just sifting through my opponent's chess.com games, and I saw that he plays pretty much everything against a London. But I also saw that in the previous round, one of the rounds of this tournament, he played e6 against d4, and then he played a very quick e6, b6. And that's what he did in this game after e6, bishop f4, b6. And I checked this position before the game, and the most principled move here is actually not to go for a mainstream London setup with e3 or knight f3, but the objectively best move is to control the center with e4. So that's what I played. He played bishop to b7, and I played bishop to d3. Now, the reason why I played bishop d3 is I checked with the engine before the game, and it's one of the top engine moves, and I think it's one of the trickiest moves. Even though it kind of feels weird to develop both bishops before either knight, there is a point in the eventual line that we got. After he plays c5, there's a really cool idea that I believe might be a novelty, at least in the master's database. This position has never been reached before, so maybe c5 is a novelty in the master's database. But I was prepared with the top engine move here is to sacrifice a pawn with d5. The point is if he takes twice, takes, white can very simply play knight f3, and there's just very quick development. Knight c3 will come with tempo, e-file's open, and black is severely underdeveloped. And yeah, white has full compensation. I think the engine gave like plus 0.69, if I'm not mistaken. So it's just a really nice position for white. And I think it's just very difficult for black to play. So let's go back and actually see what happened in the game, because after d5, he only took once, and then he played a move queen f6, which I didn't check before the game, but I knew bishop takes d5 was the best move according to Stockfish. So I knew that even though queen f6, it looks scary because my bishop, my b-pawn, and my d-pawn are all hanging, I basically knew that the valuation has to be better than 0.69. So I took some time here, and I decided to not defend any of these things, but rather counterattack with queen e2. And it's a nice in-between move because it's a little bit awkward for black to get out of check. Like if the bishop or knight block on e7, then black has to worry about the eventual d6. And I think if either minor piece blocks, let's say bishop blocks, I was going to start with this move. And then if queen g5 hitting this and this, I would play f4, defending, and d6 is coming, and yeah, I think this would just be very painful for black. Now, what happened in the game was also very painful for black because my opponent had to play queen e7. And I do want to note, actually, if I toggle the engine on in this position, the engine already says white's winning. So I got a winning position after 7 moves. But it's still a question, can I convert it smoothly and not mess it up? So after queen e7, I very simply play knight c3 and just allow the queen trade. I figured that it's not worth going out of my way to avoid the queen trade, and I'm just enjoying the nice lead in development. My opponent played knight f6, and then I play knight to b5. So seizing the initiative, now threatening nasty forks like knight d6 and knight c7. And at this point, I was feeling really good. Like white's position is just a dream. And there's no time for black to take on d5. If takes right away on d5, there's going to be some fork. And if queen takes e2, knight takes e2, and knight takes d5, covering c7. It turns out there's only one winning move for white in this position. I saw it during the game, but I didn't realize it's the only winning move. So if you want to try and find it, feel free to pause the video, white to move, and just win a lot of material. The move is bishop e4, pinning the knight to the bishop, and just setting up takes and fork, and there's no escape for black. So yeah, black did not take on d5. He did take on e2, and then he plays knight a6, so covering c7. But now after c4, I'm just getting a really nice bind in the position, and I just have a great space advantage, and black's pieces are a bit stuck on the queen side. And I was secretly hoping for castle queenside in this position so I could checkmate in one, but that didn't quite happen. My opponent played bishop e7. I deliver a check, which basically forces black to give away the dark square bishop, and now my dark square bishop is a monster on d6, preventing castling kingside. So I was more expecting castling queenside in this position. Now I do want to note that I've seen a lot of people be confused online in like YouTube comments and Twitch chats and Reddit threads. No, no, my bishop. It's a mouse slip. Opponent's not falling for it though. Oh, opponent fell for it. Let's go. It's a castle fork. Because some people don't think it's legal to castle queenside when the b8 square is controlled. But it's only illegal if the king is going through check. If the rook goes through a square that's attacked, that's totally fine. So this was what I was expecting, but white is still very much for choice here. Instead, my opponent played king d8, which does aim to free the e8 square for either the knight or the rook. But after king d2, basically both pieces want to move to this square. The rook wants to control the file, and the knight wants to come here to remove the bishop. My opponent chose knight e8, but after bishop g3, I still have a great grip on the position. He played h6, knight c3, knight c7, rook e1, and I'm just gradually improving. My dream was to double on e-file and eventually get in some rook e7. So he played rook f8. What else to do for black? And then I thought for a little bit here, because initially I wanted to play like rook e2 and double up, but then there's f5, and I have to be careful of f4 and g5 trapping my bishop. So I decided to just gain more space on the king side with the move f4. And even though it temporarily blocks my bishop, I'm just preparing f5, and I'm really just trying to like clamp down. Like I kind of felt like what do you call it? Anaconda, like just wrapping around my opponent. So yeah, it's very uncomfortable for black. My opponent played knight f6, I play f5, and then rook e8. So attempting to trade the rooks and have a little bit more space to maneuver. But I prevent the rook trade with bishop e5. And I was very happy with this move because essentially it's very difficult for black to find any useful move here. And I thought the position is very close to Zugzwang for black. It seems like almost every move is self-destructive in some way. And the move that my opponent played did kind of self-destruct pretty quickly. Just to show, the d-pawn can't really move, the knight is stuck on c7, bishop stuck on b7, rook stuck in the corner. This knight is essentially pinned to the g7 pawn. And I thought maybe my opponent would play a6 to prepare some b5, but a6 takes away the only square left for the knight, and then I just have d6 trapping the knight on c7. So yeah, super uncomfortable for black. My opponent ended up playing knight g4, but this walks into a pretty simple tactical sequence. He took knight b5, forcing the king back to defend the rook. And I did take time here because I have some options. After takes, I was debating between knight d6 and knight c7. Ultimately, I chose knight c7. The reason why I didn't go for knight d6 was because my knight might get trapped in the very end, like king e7 here. I mean, it's still winning, but I didn't want to walk into such a line where the king will come and take the knight. So I snagged the rook on a8 after king d8, knight takes, bishop takes. And now it's a matter of converting the material advantage. I have rook for knight, and the next several moves are a lot of improving moves. Plan is to expand on the king side, just optimize my pawns, my rook, and yeah, I found a nice square for the rook on e3, essentially going for ideas of rook a3, but also preparing if black plays knight e5, I can drop back to e2, and then the rook has access to g3 as well. So he played bishop e7, I played bishop e2, bishop c8, rook g3, and my eventual plan is to play g5 and just eventually create a weakness on the king side. And there's already a weakness on the queen side, so I thought if I can create a weakness on both sides of the board, that's one way to win the position. It's called the principle of two weaknesses. So after king e7, I optimize my king e3, knight f8, king f4, he plays f6, and black is just kind of waiting for his doom. I play rook e3, king d8, and then finally pawn g5 as a breakthrough move. I took, bishop d7, and then pawn to g6. And even though it looks like I'm closing things down, I now have the idea of eventually getting the rook to h7, where g7 is now a long-term weakness. And then he played a5, and when I had initially played g6, my intention was to play rook h3 right away, but then I realized rook h3 is actually a serious mistake because it allows knight takes g6. And this was my opponent's final trick in the position. And I do want to give him kudos for not resigning because I was slightly close to actually playing rook h3, not realizing there's a pin. White's still doing well here after king e4, but yeah, once I saw knight takes g6, I just wanted to play it safe. I started with bishop to d1, and yeah, black is very much stuck. He played bishop c8, and then I played bishop a4, and yeah, my opponent threw in the towel here. I think the Anaconda has successfully squeezed black's position. Rook e8 is coming, and yeah, what to do? Engine gives plus 14 in white's favor. So I think overall this was one of my most one-sided games, I would say, especially from the opening. It was somewhat of an opening disaster from my opponent. And I was fortunate because I was really tired going into this game, given that my previous round was almost 4.5 hours. So it's nice to have a relatively quick and less stressful game in round 7. So there's 2 more rounds to go. I think the rounds are going to start earlier tomorrow. They usually start at 11 a.m. Pacific, but I think tomorrow is going to be 10 a.m. So I think my priority is to find some food and get some rest. So again, thanks so much for watching. If you want to support, be sure to subscribe, follow on Twitch. You can check out all of the commentary that Jonathan Trance has been doing. Also, if you want to get merch, I do have the Vegas coupon code. Use coupon code Vegas to save 15% off everything in the merch store. Links will be in the description. So again, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next recap.